All right, well, we are officially beginning here now. Hi everybody. My name is Erica Nafasi. For those of you that don't know me, she, her. I am the Creatives Outreach Specialist here at Enterprise for Equity. For those of you who don't know about Enterprise for Equity, we're a nonprofit based out of Olympia, but we serve all of South Sound and up the Olympic Peninsula in Washington, supporting small business owners with business training, technical support, financial assistance, that sort of thing. My position here is the Creatives Outreach Specialist, so I get to do fun things like tonight's webinar. This webinar is actually third in its series. We've done two others, Making Money as an Artist, and those recordings are up on the enterpriseforequity.org website. So if you want to learn more about who Enterprise for Equity is and how we can support you, check us out. Again, enterpriseforequity.org. I'll put it in the chat in a minute. And also there's recordings of the first two of these series. This one will be recorded and also uploaded. So I will send a follow-up email after this with the link to the recording and anything that we covered tonight that we want to follow up on. So let me just think if there's anything else that I want to say before we get started. If you have questions during tonight's webinar, then feel free to pop them in the chat and then we'll ask those questions closer to the end. And also, I just want to say that at the very end of this meeting, a survey is going to pop up for us for 1 minute. And that's just if you can give your feedback on tonight, it's extremely helpful for us to be able to keep offering these types of webinars for free and give folks access to these resources. So I think that's all that I needed to say. So I will stop myself and I'll let you, Danny and Aimee, introduce yourselves and take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for inviting us to do this. For one, we're super honored and excited to do it. And thank everyone for showing up to hear us talk. Hopefully this is gonna be like a really informal, kind of casual conversation of our personal story on how we were able to transition to being full-time professional artists. And we own the Copper Wolf Tattoo Studio and Fine Art Gallery in Tumwater. And this year is 10 years in business.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years not doing any other type of work other than creative work to support a family of 5.
So awesome.
Yeah, we're super, super grateful and very fortunate. And so I also wanted to kind of preface everything with there's many ways to form an art business, and there's many ways to be successful in that. And this is just our personal story. And I mean, that said, I will say there's some overarching principles that I think I've seen personally pop up over the years, and definitely myself wrestled with in this journey. And yeah, the first one that I wanted to talk about was kind of like this idea of when to walk away from my day job, so to speak, and kind of the conflicting, almost contradicting, situation of, well, I need to spend as much time as I possibly can working on my craft and working on a business plan, and there's so many things that you have to focus on, but I also like to eat food and I need to pay my bills and stuff like that. So this has come up maybe more than anything else over the years in the studio, talking to other young artists. And so I just wanted to share what I ended up doing and the path that I took, and my opinions on what I think is going to be a less anxietic road, potentially. And
Love it.
I'm really, really a strong proponent of do not quit your day job until you're ready to quit your day job. And how you know you're ready to quit your day job is going to look different for, everyone probably, because it's going to depend on your life situation. And if you're an 18-year-old kid with no, responsibilities and living at home, and it's going to look quite a bit different than if you're in your mid 30s and you have a family and you're trying to transition to this new adventure. And for me, I was in the latter bucket. I was a software engineer for 16 years and made really good money and had a really good life doing that. And I just, I was not fulfilled. And I had this idea floating around in my brain that I wanted to become a visual artist. And the funny thing is I didn't grow up drawing or painting, or I didn't have that background whatsoever. But
Wow, that's hard to believe.
it's true. I mean, like I get the all the time people come to the studio and they'll look around and go, "Wow, I can't draw a stick figure." And I was like, "No, I remember that conversation that I had with myself and with a buddy of mine where I couldn't draw a stick figure either, but I saw through some magazines and some material that I came across these artists that were just doing unbelievable work, and I thought it was magic. I didn't think that it was in the realm of possibility that I could even attempt to do it. And I got into a weird conversation with them, and ultimately it ended with me kind of setting aside an hour in the morning while I was drinking my coffee to kind of just like doodle, to draw, to try to see if I even actually liked it, like the activity of doing it. And I will say that I actually did that every day for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, while it still looked like silliness, it was better looking than day one. And I saw just enough of an increase in my explorations that it convinced me that maybe I can do this. Maybe it really is just like everything else in life. It's just desire and effort. Um, and so I started thinking about it, and I started like actively thinking about it. Like I started doing research, like what are the different ways that I could make money doing art? Like how, if I'm going to quit my job, and I mean I can see obviously I need a lot of practice. It's not gonna come on my talent, right? Because I didn't have any. So I started doing research, and I spent years. I kept my job and I worked hard, and I saved my money. And I mean, I guess that's another angle that I can kind of take on this too. Like, I started to set up every aspect of my life to help ensure a higher degree of success towards my ultimate goal, which was becoming a professional artist. And that means that like I moved into an apartment, and again I was a senior engineer in the Silicon Valley. I made a lot of money, and I was living as if I worked at Taco Bell. Um, and this went on for years, and I ended up formulating a kind of, in just my mind, for me, what I thought that I was going to need before I could quit my job. And it was a certain dollar amount, and it afforded me a certain amount of time that I thought that I would need. And after several years, I reached that goal. And yeah, and talked to Aimee here, who was an artist, and we put into place that we were gonna go and open up a studio in a fine art gallery, and that was kind of the beginning of that transition. And
Just mention the final book that you read right before quitting your job,
the
because I think everyone will love
yeah,
that.
I don't remember who recommended the book. I still to this day can't
Yeah.
remember, but somebody recommended a book by Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art. And it's a short, easy read. Um, and a lot of it, I remember when I first started reading, going like, yeah, I know this. I know it's like kind of almost like a self-helpy type book. But there was, as I continued to read, he would phrase a lot of his points in a way that just stood out to me in particular about this idea of thinking that you can't do something or that you shouldn't do something based out of like responsibility, let's say, to your family. In that situation for me, uh, I quitting a really high paying job to go and try to like paint and draw seemed not like a smart move. And and it was really heavy on my heart, like kind of weighing whether or not I was gonna do this, even though I had like saved the money to be able to do it. Um, it still messed with me. In that book, as I was going through that, it just like the pages, it was pointing out all of these fear-based thoughts that I was having, and it labeled it as resistance. And resistance is this entity that tells you that, you know, you're too stupid to do what you're wanting to do, and don't even worry about it. Just keep, you know, on the old track. And I was very fortunate to come across that book at the time because uh, it did inspire me to kind of go ahead and take that plunge and quit my job when I had reached that point. Now, I will say that looking back, I think I might have even quit my job a little prematurely because I had still little to no skills at that point in time. I just had a lot of desire, and I knew that I was going to work hard towards that. But I should have probably stayed, or could have stayed working the job a little longer, and started to then like develop my skills a little more. But I didn't, and I well, for me, making that plunge, I thought that I would be able to kind of like get up to speed pretty quick, and I realized that um, being a professional artist is maybe one of the most difficult things you could ever hope to attempt to do in this life, especially when it comes to money. It's a huge, huge ask from the universe for you to be able to just spend all your time creating things and have people give you enough money that you can support yourself. It's a tremendous ask. And I don't think a lot of people are prepared for what you have to do to like fulfill that ask. You know, that it's a tremendous amount of sacrifice and effort that you have to end up putting into it. And it's not a job, it is a lifestyle, and it's something that is, I mean, if to be successful and have longevity, it is going to take the rest of your life, you know, to do it, is what I've discovered. Um, so yeah, so much so that as I started kind of like working and slogging through all these ideas, there was just so much kind of, there was like new things to consider at every corner. And I was having problems for, I mean, what I was interested in and what I am currently interested in is representational type of visual art. And it's very difficult to do that stuff. And so I realized that I just did not have the foundational knowledge that I was going to need to be able to, in the time frame that I needed to start, you know, developing this business. So I personally chose, my engineering brain said, do you need to go to school and like and get actual formal training on this stuff. And my personal path led me to going back to school and getting a BFA in illustration. And I have, I mean, some mixed feelings, but overall, it was the right move for me. And it's not at all where I learned how to do art and to or be creative or anything, but the formal studying and investment in my art practice was huge. And the connections that I made with other people and sitting in sessions with a bunch of other people that were into the same things that I was interested in, and we're all struggling to kind of grasp these same concepts, was very valuable to me.
It's so
And
interesting. Going to art school is such a, every artist I talk to has different feelings about it. So it's so individual. On some people are like, I'm so glad I never went. I'm so glad I went, so it's interesting to hear. You said you have mixed feelings, and I think a lot of folks feel that way that, you
well,
know,
it's funny because the mixed feelings come from this idea. When I first went to school, I was under the impression that I was going to school to learn how to be an artist. And I think that's where the misconception is often, is in this, like, nobody is going to teach you to be the artist that you are going to become as a professional. Like, it just, I don't know that that can be taught, and in my opinion, my personal opinion, you don't go to school. If you go to school with that in mind, then you're going to be jaded, and you're definitely going to feel like it wasn't worth it. For me, like I said, what I ended up getting out of it was like just being directed um to look into aspects of art that I most certainly wouldn't have if I hadn't been forced to in certain cases, especially when it comes to art history. When I had to take like 7 art history classes, and I remember every time at the beginning I saw the curriculum, and I was like, dude, I don't want to take these art history classes. I just want to get to painting and drawing. Right? I thought it was going to be the worst class. I was really upset about it. Turned out to be some of my favorite classes, and which really informed the art that I started to make. And because a lot of this stuff I would just, could I have looked into it? Of course, but I wouldn't have. And I know I wouldn't have. I know what I would have just kept kind of like poking away at things that I thought I was interested in, and would have had a much more narrow outlook, and it would have been probably a lot longer before I was exposed to certain things. So that was hugely valuable to me. And it wasn't until after I graduated with the degree that I was like, oh, okay, now I have a better idea of where to look and what to kind of practice and whatnot.
Yeah, I gave you a vocabulary so that you could then go dive into something deeper, whereas before you wouldn't even have known where to look or
Yeah. Yep.
what to study. So really, your real training began after, but based on the foundations of like what you had learned.
100%, 100%. So that's I mean to I guess sum up like that first point really is that, like, if I was worried about having to pay my bills, and if I was worried about like having to take care of my responsibilities on a day, I don't it would have taken much longer, and it would have been a much more chaotic road for myself.
very real for a lot of folks. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention that, like, I and working these other jobs and having these other experiences also definitely informed my my practice and my work overall. If you're having these to kind of push back, and then also having that kind of almost like holy sacred time to practice, not where like, oh, I have all day, I can kind of do whatever I want, you know what I mean? But I haven't developed the discipline and the habit yet of like working on stuff. It's like I had to work all day long, and then so now I only have this shorter amount of time that's focused, and it really made that time very sacred to me, and I it was beneficial for sure.
Do you still
Um,
hold a daily practice?
Oh, I do. I
I
do.
know you
I
do.
mean, yeah, over the years, and I'll get to kind of like how my practice has morphed over the years, and I think that as you transition from like having work in the real world, so to speak, you know, and having a set amount of time to doing an art business, which all of your time, all of my time is my art business now. My daily practices have shifted up a bit, but yeah, that's my first kind of tip is to like to really be mindful about when you make that jump and make sure that you're putting all of your ducks in a row that are going to help you be as successful as possible. And then what I found, then moving into the next kind of area that pops up, this I'm sure all artists struggle with this, and this comes up all the time here at the studio, is this idea of finding your style. This idea of as an art business, it is that it's a business. You are trying to sell your work, and um, there are a lot of people out there trying to sell their work as well. And you were, whether you like it or not, you're competing with these people for patrons' dollars, and finding a style and a voice was something that I got hung up on for a long time when I was like just transitioning into like, okay, now I'm in a position where I can start this business, and I really put a heavy amount of emphasis on trying to find my style and my voice, and I would watch videos and like listen to talks and trying to like find like some magic answer for it. And what I personally have discovered was there is no magic answer. The magic answer is you sitting down and doing your work. That's how your voice is going to authentically emerge. And and that's where you're going to start creating art, in my personal opinion, that is going to attract more financial rewards. Is when you're doing something that is authentic but also professional, when your ideas have been like refined and gone over and over and over, and you put that type of effort in, that's the likelihood of you making those sales and making those connections that lead to bigger and better shows or markets or whatever goes up. And yeah, I don't know about all of you, but that was something that like really I would spend a ridiculous amount of time where I could have been spending time actually on my practice, trying to figure out these different tricks, so to speak. So yeah,
Yeah, you don't find your style. Your style finds you while you're
I
making
like
art.
that.
I
Yes.
love that. Yeah, I totally agree. Love that.
Yeah, yeah. It just it will naturally emerge through dedicated practice. Um, and I would also start adding to that as well, like this idea, this concept of continual learning, and research and doing as many workshops and online courses hanging out with other artists that are doing things, and like spending time critically looking at your work and their work, and having these conversations. All of this is going to help inform and refine your art business and your art practice. And it's just, you want to spend as much time as you can doing that, as opposed to just kind of like sitting in your room by yourself, spinning through the same things. There's this concept of balance that I get, that comes up from time to time, and I tend to have an unpopular opinion on it. I'm not interested in balance at all. Balance, I don't care about balance, or at least not in the classical sense of balance.
You do go,
Um,
go, go.
yeah,
People who
well,
know you know this about you, which is impressive and awesome because it's so seems so genuine that you're just so passionate about what you're doing.
it's true. I am passionate about it, and about what I'm doing, and I also firmly believe that, like, again, going back to that, like, this enormous ask of the universe for what I'm doing. Like, I'm aware of that, and I am aware that there's only so many minutes in the day, and that, like, I could come up with a bunch of excuses as to why I want to, like, sit around and watch Netflix, or go and hang out at the club, or go and do any other things that I could be doing other than sitting there working on my stuff. And a lot of people when I've been more recently doing a lot more mentoring with younger artists, and teaching and stuff like that. And I hear this often, this idea of, like, being inspired, or, like, just not inspired. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're just not inspired. Like, how you get inspired is by sitting there and doing your work, and focusing your efforts into your supposed, life path. There's just no other way to do it. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time crafting my habit, and it goes way, way back. So my initial art and love is music. And I started playing music when I was 11 years old. And by the time I was 13, I was playing, like, clubs with adults. And by the time I was 17, I got my first management deal and my first endorsement deal with Roland Meinl. And in my early 20s, I ended up signing a record deal with Atlantic Records and Velvet Hammer Music Management, who manages bands like System of a Down and Deftones and Perfect Circle, and, like, big, some of my heroes, um, and I mean, every dime that we made from the time I was 11 to the time I was 25, I put right back into music. And I practice every single second that I could, every second. And when like, I got married, when I was 20, and I had a family. And so, I mean, during this time, before and leading up to getting the record deal and everything, I had 60-hour-a-week job, and, wife and kids, and I still made it happen because this is what I wanted to do. And there was no other way. There was no excuse. I knew no one was going to pay my bills for me, that I had to, like, take care of my responsibilities so I could be free to focus on my creative outlet. And, like, kind of like my my schedule at that time,
Yeah.
kind of to address what my habits were at that time. I would go to work, and get off, early in the morning. I'd get off, like, around 5. I'd hang out with the family and eat dinner and all that kind of stuff. And around 9:30, I would go and practice until about 1:30 in the morning. And I did that minimum 4 nights a week. In many weeks, I did that every night of the week. If we were on tour, or we had shows coming up or whatever, we did it more. And was I tired? Yes, I was tired. Was it hard? Yes, it was hard. But so what does that have to do with anything? That's what I wanted to do. And so I sacrificed other things because my art business, my art practice meant that much to me. And I just personally, I mean, I don't, again, I talk to some people and it's an unpopular kind of outlook, but in my opinion, there's just too many other people in the world that are after that same thing. And I think there's plenty of space for everyone, but it does require that type of commitment, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
I've set my life up around our art business. I have an artist wife. My kids, my kids are artists. All of my friends are here in the studio, and and are artists and stuff. And none of this was by accident. This is all thought through,
Right.
and I'm not saying that you have to go and get divorced if your spouse isn't a artist. That's not what I'm saying,
But
but
surround yourself with other artists.
yes, surround your day, build your life up in to reinforce this idea of I want to be an artist and I want to have an art business, and you're going to have a higher degree of success if everywhere you're looking, it kind of reinforces that idea.
Yeah. And it's like switching your brain. Oh, sorry, Amy. Just
I don't
have
know.
to say, like, switching your brain from, because a lot of us are like, why am I doing so much work just for, the man or a job, a corporation job or something you don't care about? Like, you can't have that type of mindset for this because this is, like you said, like you wanted it, you're committed, you're passionate about it. So although it's a hell of a lot of work, it's like a different type of work when it's for you and towards your own want. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. But Amy, I interrupted you, so go ahead.
I was just gonna reiterate that, like, yeah, all of this was very intentional. You for years have very intentionally crafted your environment toward this. And that's what it takes because yeah, it's an extreme lifestyle for an extreme ask. And you
Extreme
still
reward.
and you still don't sleep much. Like
I still don't sleep much. That's true. I've just gotten used to it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then like I love how you just brought that up, Erica, with the why am I working for the man? Why I'm doing this? Well, that's a great a great thing to bring up. You're working for the man because you want to develop your art business and you want to pay your bills before there, because if the lights are turned off, it's really hard to see what you're doing. If you can't eat, then I mean you're not going to be as focused on creating work. I really rare. I mean, you get into like maybe some depressive modes here and there and all that kind of stuff, but I would always end up going back to telling myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. And like I wish, like my hope is, especially for younger people who don't have a lot of experience with maybe having to do a bunch of uncomfortable things that they don't want to do for long periods of time, that like if you are if you are mindful about your intentions and your goals and your habits, that there you can minimize the amount of time that you have to spend doing that. But it's not ever for a waste if it is what is allowing you to build that art business. It's not a waste. It's an actual, you're lucky, and you should hopefully find a way to look at it that way, because it just makes life a little easier. If you think everything's stupid and sucks, then it's hard to be motivated. If you can have more of the attitude of like, yeah, I have to go and work at this coffee shop or work at this office or whatever, and it's not what I want to do, but it is going to afford me the opportunity to get where I want to go. And I can tell you, like, I didn't start this visual arts journey until I was in my 30s. Like, it didn't even start it.
Never too early, never too late.
Never too early, it's never too late. 100%. Yeah. So I mean, those were some of the most important kind of like hangups that I came across, and how I kind of like looked at them to help um, overcome those issues and to build a business that 10 years later we're still growing, and it will always hopefully be growing.
Totally. I love that. I love how real you're keeping it. So many people are like, oh, being an artist is like this cutesy sweet thing, but it's like, no, it's courageous and hard work, and we need artists in this world. It's like totally. So I love how you use the word or the phrase, it's an enormous ask. I think that's ask of the universe. Yeah,
It really is, and I love that you just said that cutesy thing. There's lots of things that are cutesy and fun. There are. But there are just as many things that like are just where you have to slog through and are not fun whatsoever. And that's another, aspect of that. Like if you don't have experience in having to deal with stuff like that, and then when you get into the like, dude, I don't want to have to do all this research for my piece. I don't want to. Aimee's about ready to start talking about a bunch of the things that, like, if I'm being honest, I can't stand. I hate all of this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to paint, or draw, but it's absolutely required, and that stuff is at least as much work um, than the actual act of creating art.
totally. It's a
So
business. Yeah.
it is
Definitely.
a business. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump into the marketing side of things then. Let
Oh,
me just,
yes. The
I'm gonna,
reality that we all face.
yeah, I'm gonna share my screen because I have some slides, just to keep on track. Let's see. You guys seeing my screen?
I am. If anyone's not, then just holler at us, but I can see it. Oh,
Okay.
someone said no.
Oh no?
Is everyone a no? Pop in the chat, y'all, just so we can make sure that you all can see it before we get started. I can see it. I'm seeing it. Okay, people can
Okay,
see it. So
awesome.
I'm not sure
Um,
about Amanda, but I'll give you the recording so you'll be able to see. Okay, we can see. All right, go ahead, Aimee.
Great. So the selling of art is just as much of an art form as making the art itself. And it is necessary. It's the necessary part to having an art business. It takes all the same type of creativity and discipline as it does to make the art. So if this is not something that you can find a way to enjoy somewhat, then I think you're much better off just creating whatever you want in your free time and not trying to ask it to make you money, because that is a very enjoyable way to make art. Selling it, it adds stress to the process for sure, and there are much easier ways to make a living. So just that being said, the marketing side of things, I think most people with art businesses are probably spending maybe more than 50% of their time on the non-art things of it. So
We are for sure.
yeah, we definitely are. So if you kind of even it all out and it's like you have your day job and then your fun art time, it's kind of the same thing. Like your day job in the art business situation is like all the marketing and all of the like finance business, all the like non as
Totally.
funding. So I'm just gonna dive in and share kind of things that I think are important about this. I put artist branding and marketing equals art because you need to be able to find a way to make it an extension of your art. And if you can think about it kind of as world building, this exciting task of world building, you're inviting people into your world and then you're selling them your art. It's a more fun way to look at a topic that maybe is drudgery for many people. And Danny mentioned earlier, like finding your style, finding your voice. That is something that will emerge once you have practiced enough. And you do need to be able to define it, though you can't go out and find it prematurely. Once you have it, will have to be able to communicate that clearly to people. And so for an artist, you need to be able to clearly define your voice and deliver it to people in a short elevator pitch. So for me, mine would be something like, I create symbolic moth art to explore impermanence and transformation, and I use gold leaf and acrylic paint. So it's kind of just the what, the why, and the how you are doing your art business. And then once you can define all of this, it's important to know the type of person that your art is appealing to, so that you can tailor all your communications to connect with that audience. And storytelling is the most powerful tool that you have in sharing your work with people. People are naturally drawn to the stories behind art and artists. We kind of have this built-in benefit that it's kind of inherently interesting to many people. So the more you share your story and your inspirations, your struggles, all of that, the more people will connect with you. And I think in this day and age also, video is probably the most effective medium to do that if you are not in person. This year I have a goal for our studio just to do more video content, because I think it's the best way to get a message across, although it is the most time intensive way to get a message across too. So, and then again, like once you know your audience, you're engaging with them, it's also just at the basis of good artist branding is to have a really cohesive visual identity that feels professional. So if you have cohesive, you're using similar colors, similar fonts, just anything to make your business look professional is going to build trust with your potential collectors.
I love
And
that,
then
build trust.
yeah, because I mean, people especially, it's more likely that you are not going to be selling to people only in your town where you live. We have the opportunity in the digital age to sell things across the world. And so with that, you need to be able to just have the presentation that is going to make someone give you their money over the internet. In marketing, the rule of 7 is that it takes on average 7 interactions before someone's willing to buy something. And this is probably even a little higher for art, especially for like higher ticket original paintings or like more expensive items. So it's up to you to start creating all of those touch points and opportunities for people to interact with your art, both online and in person. So a sample, like if you're just beginning, a sample marketing plan for you could look something like what's up here: 3 really in-depth posts per week, bonus if they can be video, and 1 email per week. No matter how small your subscriber list is, that can grow over time. Email is the one thing that you kind of own, like you're not dependent on an algorithm of one of the platforms to get your message to someone. So start now on building your email list, no matter where you are. And then try to do 1 event per quarter in person, because in person is still just the best way to like develop real connections with real people. And a tip that I have for this, for just all art marketing efforts, is to batch your tasks. I've been trying this, trying to get better at this lately, but there's just so many platforms and things to do that it can be so overwhelming. So for me, if I schedule out my time where I'm like, okay, the 2 hours today, I'm going to do this scheduling out all the Instagram posts. And then the next day, I'm going to spend this putting all those Instagram posts, the ones that apply, on Pinterest. Then the next day, I'm going to do the emails. So the more things you can get scheduled out and the more tasks you can batch, that's just a more efficient way I found of doing this stuff. And you don't have to be on all the platforms, like be on the ones that you enjoy. Well, enjoy. Does anyone really enjoy being on Instagram anymore these days?
I do.
I
Oh
don't.
man, it's real. I really love this breakdown because it seems really realistic. You know, sometimes people are like, you should be doing an event a week and, 3 posts a day and stuff. And that's just, but this seems like consistent and, for what it is, approachable. Before you
Yeah, I
continue,
think
I'm just wondering can we get these slides after that I can share with folks?
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I think with this stuff too, I think quality over quantity is better in
Absolutely.
general. Because what ends up happening, especially for Instagram these days, unless you happen to be lucky enough to have a post go viral, like very few people are seeing your things, but when they land on your page, you want a nice portfolio presentation for them. And the way that you have that is by like taking some time with each post, curate it a little bit. You don't have to share every little thing, but again, any way to elevate your appearance and your brand to make it appear as professional as possible is going to go a long way in getting collectors. Another task that you can do, I have in the bottom here, is to reach out to one brand expander per month. And a brand expander would be anyone who's going to help get new eyeballs on your work. So it might be a new like local shop that maybe you want to stock some prints at, or it might be a gallery. It might be like some influencer that maybe you, I don't know, paint deer and there's like a deer fanatic who's famous on Instagram. You reach out to them and try to just start a conversation and hopefully work with them at some point. Things like that. If you can set a goal to reach out to one of those people per month, I think that will go a long way in moving things forward. Okay, so wait. So this is a marketing funnel. And marketing your art is all about bringing people from just awareness, like how do we get them from just learning about you all the way to buying something and then buying something else and telling all their friends to buy things from you. I think one of my favorite ways to build awareness is through collaboration. There are a lot of other local artists and businesses that are happy to like throw events with you. And last winter, we did a fun event at Osa Skinworks. It was called the Holiday Loft, and we had our paintings up on the wall, and then Velvet and Shag had rugs on the floor. Honeysuckle Vintage had their items there, and then all the spa goodies. So it was like a really fun event, and then you get exposure. You can cross promote. And you get like new audiences that way. I think that, like Danny said earlier, there is enough room for like art is so subjective that the type of thing that I paint, someone different is going to like it than the type of thing that Danny paints or the type of thing that you paint or whatever type of art you do. So it's important to see your local artist community as collaborators and not competitors, because the more we band together, like great things happen when artists get together and do things. Like they start galleries together, they start cool events together. It's
and they don't have to be the same type of art that you do or anything. Like we had Mirror Room Media, Connor Rubin came in and shot a little cool thing with me in the studio, and it was so awesome, and it exposed us to a bunch of new people. And yeah, there's so many artists in this area to kind of collaborate with. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we are better together for sure. Yeah, and again, build the loyalty. Once someone buys something from you, you want to make that purchase feel extra special. Because again, it's all about connection. How can you build a connection and then reinforce that connection? So when someone buys something from us, we include like a handwritten thank you postcard, throw in some stickers, put a ribbon on. It doesn't have to be elaborate or expensive for yourself. It just has to feel more special than like, why is someone going to buy something from you that's more expensive than just like, and less convenient than going to Home Goods to get something cheap, you know, like it's about the personal artist connection. So yeah, all those little small touches go a long way, I think, in building your advocacy and loyalty.
Totally.
And I hate to say it, but giveaways can be like a nice way also to encourage purchasing. If you already like, if you have something that's like a low lift for you, maybe something you already do, that you can like include either with a purchase or to like enter into a drawing for a purchase, that can also be like a way to do this. Where are we at? Okay, I'm gonna dive into website optimization a little bit because I spend a lot of time in this world and I think it's super important for every person hoping to have a creative business.
Totally.
Your website is your online gallery and you have total control over the look and feel of it. And it is the platform where someone can purchase something from you, like if you choose to try to sell things online, which I would recommend trying to do. The for those who don't have a website, I don't know if like what stage a lot of you guys are at in your art business. If you don't yet have a website, I would recommend Squarespace or Shopify too. Our Copper Wolf website is
yeah.
on Shopify, but if I was going to do it again, I probably would have started on Squarespace just because it's a little more customizable. Like Shopify, you kind of have to buy a expensive theme to get what just comes with Squarespace. But both are great platforms. So just things to think about with your website. Within 3 seconds of landing on your page, it should be completely clear what you do and who you are, like what you're hoping to sell. And then if you have testimonials that you can put on your website, if you don't have testimonials, you should ask someone who's bought something from you, can you write me a little review? Because people are really happy to do that for you. And that also goes a long way to build trust online with people who don't really know who you are yet, but they see that, oh, they have real happy customers. That's a really important piece, I think, of a website. And then also like a meet the artist section, you need to include your bio and background. You need to have a picture of yourself because this is about the human element. And people oftentimes they're not buying stuff because just because, oh, they saw this thing and they thought it was pretty and they want it on their wall. That is one way, but a lot of times people are buying things because they connect to that artist and their story more
So
than
true. So true. I
so.
can't tell you how much I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. And then have a newsletter subscription form built into your website so you can always be capturing those emails and communicate, because those are the next level fans. Like it's one thing to have a follower on Instagram, but if someone takes the time to give you their email, that is the relationship that you should try to nurture above anything else. And then for collection pages and product pages, I'll talk a little more about this later, but it's a really good idea to create work and present it in collections because it's easier to market a collection. You can tell a nice story about it. It looks good together.
Collections show consistency.
Yeah.
They show a different level of professionalism, and yeah, depending on what type of work that you're doing. But if I was going to, if it was more like service based, then I would want to see, yeah, multiple high level cohesive pieces.
Yeah. Cohesive look, it again builds trust and it allows you to go really deep into an idea that you have. And it's just a lot easier to market that way. And then for individual product pages, you want to include as much information as possible because people can't see that. People will buy art. I think in general, maybe up to like $5,000 without seeing it first. Above 5,000, I think most of that is being seen in person. But below that, You just need to have really high quality photos, and hope and video too, I think is really helpful in that. This probably more than anything else is worth learning about, or if you have the resources, like paying someone to do for you. Because yeah, it's how you, it's the only exposure someone online has to what your art looks like. So you need to make it as good and thorough as possible. And it's really important to show many like detail shots, and also show mock-ups of how your art looks on a wall, or like in use if you're not doing like painting type work. If you do like mug, like ceramics or something, like hold the mugs just so people can understand what the scale is, because a lot of people have a it's hard for people to visualize something if they're not seeing it in front of them. And then also important, if you're creating in collections, show the whole collection, because people like to buy things in sets. Like this flower painting that Danny did, he did this little series. If you show it all together, it maybe someone wants all of them, maybe someone wants 2 of them. It's people enjoy buying things in sets.
So true.
And then yeah, have your about page with your story, have a contact page, make it really easy to contact you. Pricing is the next big topic that
Huge.
no one knows where to start with this, because it is completely made up and subjective. Like, the most important thing I think to realize with this is you are the only one who can tell people how to value your art. It's up to you to teach people to value your art, and then it's up to you
Yes.
to learn yourself like how to value your own work. I like this this value pyramid is from Harvard Business School, and they did some research about businesses who kind of encompassed, the more values on this pyramid that they encompassed, the more successful they were as businesses. So when you're thinking about your art, like it may, like you want to make sure it's of high quality, it's like attractive, it's got good design, whatever, all these like functional and emotional values. It's good to have as many of those as you can. But art really lives at the top of the pyramid in this life-changing section and in the social impact section. So making art is intrinsically a really hopeful activity. So like people owning art and seeing it, it provides hope to them. And that is that is a life-changing value. Maybe someone is excited to buy an expensive piece of art because they want to pass it to their kids as an heirloom. So your art is becoming part of that person's legacy. Maybe someone is wanting to sponsor a big piece of public work that the whole community sees that has a particular message. That's the self-transcendence. Like, them sponsoring that art and that artist is allowing them to transcend themselves and serve their whole community. So think about your art in that way, and don't undercharge for your originals, because like simple economics is something is very rare, then it has more value. And every single original piece of art that you do is the only thing that exists and will exist ever. That is just like that. It can't be repeated. So, but that in mind, like you can't just start from nothing, no collectors, and expect that people are going to give you thousands for your originals. So I think the best way to start is to create a formula for yourself. And a lot of artists, I think, do it roughly based on size. So what we do is for paintings, we take the length and plus the width, and then we multiply it by a number that takes into account not only the time we spent making it, but the time we're going to have to spend marketing it, and the time we spent learning how to make what it is we're trying to sell. So you might be a master who can make a masterpiece in 2 hours, but you're not going to like value and set the price of that as like a 2-hour painting. You're going to set the price of that as a 2-hour painting plus the 30 years of struggle that you went through to be able to create that piece. Also, offer a variety of price points. I think that it's a great,
Yes.
like art is for everyone. Everyone needs art. And it's okay that everyone can't afford an original. That's why you do in-person events. You can expose your art to the community and allow people to enjoy it no matter what their financial situation is. And you can also have prints and you can have stickers so that your artist friends who want to support you, they can buy a sticker from you, or like those are all great things. And that kind of brings me into, I'm gonna just skip ahead to some revenue streams. There are so many different ways to earn, like generate income from art. And you're gonna want to, I think, so you're not overwhelmed, start with like 2, but add more and more once you get going with those. And yeah, there's all kinds of in-person events in this area too. Just a couple of them: Arts Walk, Falls Fest, Duck the Malls, and Lincoln and 222. Those are all holiday markets. There's tons of holiday markets around here. So yeah, there's niche specific things that you can get involved in. There's all sorts of things. Each one of these can be its own like 20-hour talk. So I would just like look through this list and then see what one piques your interest and then do some deep diving on the Googler for those.
This is so thorough and awesome, Aimee.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope it's helpful. It's like it represents just many years of random study of this stuff and attempting it. All these things that you're selling, you can focus on selling them online and in person, and I would definitely do both. And one more note on like the collection, like there are different types of ways you can like release your art. And a lot of people do like the shop update or like a full collection drop. Like we work in collections, and then like it's usually toward a physical event. So we release it all together. But again, you want to be building momentum. Treat it like a movie, make a trailer for it, send out a bunch of emails ahead of time, make a poster. Like all these things are helpful to build buzz so that once you do release that, hopefully people are excited and you can sell some of it. I did, though, just come across an artist who talked about how she was releasing just one painting at a time ever, and then that painting would sell, and then she would raise the price $200 for the next one. So that's how she was able to start. Like she sold a piece like starting at maybe $300, but then over time as each one sells, now she's able to sell them for several thousand because it was a rare thing. Like she never had work available. So when it became available, that was like another, I thought that was interesting. I've never tried it before, but this artist seemed to be really working for her. Although I like seeing all the full collection together, so probably wouldn't be able to do that. Another note about revenue streams, there are like more traditional jobs that exist where you can do art all day, but you can also have benefits and a stable income. So if the whole business side of things and marketing side, like if that doesn't appeal to you, then like these are all options, and you can do them in-house or freelance, like depending on what kind of art you have. It may be worth looking into for you, these very specific
Totally.
jobs. And I'm going to hit on time management just one more time because I think it's probably the most important thing about having an art business. And the first thing is that creativity really, really thrives when you give it a container. You cannot go deep enough, I think, in my opinion, if you are not setting boundaries for yourself. And for me, I experienced this. We at one point sold all of our stuff and moved to Mexico. And when we came back, my art practice was dramatically different and dramatically better, I think, than it was before, for the simple reason that I had so many art supplies before we left, and I only had acrylic paints and canvases when we got back. So before I had, like, if I wanted to get creative, I was like, oh, maybe I'll pull out my beads and make some jewelry. Maybe I'll pull out the clay. Maybe I'll pull out the sewing machine with my giant fabric stash. It was just like endless distraction of all, I mean, all these fun things that I love to do. but I was not ever able to go deep enough into one thing because I just had too many. I had access to too many things. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
think removing access is like a great way to zero in on one thing and make it like of a high enough quality that you are able to sell it. And then we talked about collections. Danny painted this collection of bird paintings that a couple years ago. 3 of them sold to one amazing local collector couple, and then the other 6 sold all at once to a single person in Denver who hadn't even seen them. So people buy things in sets, creating collections. It's good for your art. It's good for your marketing. It's good for everything. And then schedule out your time and make sure you have a dedicated space to do your art. Even if it's like 30 minutes in the morning at the kitchen table, make sure that time is known to you, written down on your calendar or however you keep track. Because it's less likely that you'll spend time in distraction if these things are written down and stuck to. I came across this quote by Nir Eyal. He said, "The opposite of distraction isn't focus, it's traction." And by traction, he was saying traction is focused, planned action toward your goals versus unplanned action away from your goals. So the more, back to like your original entire story, basically in the beginning, like the more you plan, the better you will feel, the more you will be able to be successful as an artist. Yeah, you have anything
Wow.
else to add to that?
Oh, that sounded great.
Yeah,
Time is precious. Time is precious.
never,
It really
never
is.
underestimate though, like the amount of progress you can make in like with planned scheduled time. Like I've painted so many paintings in 30-minute increments. Like I don't believe in
Couldn't agree more. No,
like,
I mean, just even just in the focused 1 year of focused work towards building your skills or your business or whatever could make more progress than 20 years where it's just distracted and chaotic. It really
Mm,
it really makes a huge difference setting aside that time and sticking to it regardless of how you feel. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
it's not always fun.
It's not always fun, but again, that's not nothing in life is always fun.
Right.
So,
totally.
and realize too, I do like to make the distinction between the difference between like all humans are creative and have this need to express themselves and be creative. That's every human has that, and that's a really important thing to notice in yourself and to each other. But that is not the same thing as a professional artist. Those are two totally different things,
Totally.
and they need to be kind of addressed and given the proper attention.
Yeah, I think yeah. Oh,
Nice.
I was gonna like there's a lot of awesome resources for artists in our community. Enterprise for Equity, who's hosting this, being one of them. Um, they're super helpful with the business. The first art thing that I was ever exposed to in Olympia was an Enterprise for Equity little workshop, kind of like this, but it was in person. So yeah, Olympia Art Space Alliance, these things, and they're all linked. So you guys should check all of those out because they have a lot of great resources. But
Oh yeah.
never to be underestimated is networking. Like ask your local artist people that you admire on Instagram for coffee and pick their brain. Like everyone is happy to help and happy to hang out. Support your other local artists like by showing up to their gallery shows and their all their things because there's a lot going on in our town and it's yeah it just makes everything better to network and to be friends with them.
Totally.
And we're always open, and we'll sit here and talk about art until you just
Oh yeah.
slowly
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Love
This
that.
final build momentum by creating and sharing every day. Inspiration comes when you're working.
I love that. That inspiration piece that you said was really, that really hit. Don't wait for inspiration. That was that hit me for sure. Um,
Yeah, we can
awesome.
yeah.
Yes,
So
before we
anyone with questions, we can
yeah, there's some questions and comments in the chat. A couple things that I'll say before we do questions, and feel free to start filling in your questions. Um, while we're on the subject of local resources. So first of all, I just want to say again that Danny and Aimee own Copper Wolf Gallery and Tattoo Studio, and it's in Tumwater. And I'll make a note to send everyone the address so they can know where it's at. And if you're not in the Olympia area, because I know that there's some people who aren't, it's kind of outside of Olympia. I'm sending everybody a follow-up email after this with the slides and the recording and that sort of thing. But I wanted to make a note on networking and collaborating and connecting with other artists. A handful of folks that are here in this Zoom, and I get together every month, which what we call the Creatives Exchange here in Olympia, and come hang out with us. Every month we get together and just talk about resources and networks, sometimes have guest speakers, do different things. It's hosted by E4E. And I'll send everyone the details for that. So if you're local in Olympia, we get together monthly, and there's many other things to do too. I also want to say, just on the business side of things, when you're thinking about the marketing, financial, operations side of your business, Enterprise for Equity can support you doing that. And we have a program right now for artists specifically. So I'll also send that to you all as well. So I just wanted to reiterate leaning on your local resources can make a huge difference. Okay, let me see what questions we have. Try to give some folks a second. Lots of good comments. I'm just going to kind of go up and go through these. So, um, one question Devin had is, what platform do you all prefer for videos, making videos?
Oh, I've been in all sorts of them lately. I honestly will just often edit a reel like in Instagram, and then I'll download it before posting so I can then also post it to YouTube and Pinterest, and like I choose different music for each one. It might be more efficient to do it on my computer, but I do things in iMovie sometimes, and I also do things in Premiere because we have all the Adobe programs.
Got
But
you.
a little more like probably not necessary if like for most things.
If you're trying to open up Premiere, you might want to talk to someone at Mirror Room
Yeah, you got to
Media.
talk to Connor for that.
Yeah, talk to a professional to help. Yeah, we're not definitely
Yeah.
not the ones that.
But yeah, I think a lot of folks use Insta. That's interesting to download it off. I like that idea.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
always reuse, like if you're gonna spend the time to make an Instagram post or whatever post, an email, turn that into every other thing. Turn that into a YouTube video, turn that into a blog post, whatever other thing that you can think of to turn it into, the better, because it really is just a numbers game at a certain point. So the more eyes on it, the more likely you are to sell
I
something.
think if you use
Totally.
TikTok, it allows you to keep the music on it when you download it. So that's a little easier if you want the same music on there. But yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, I just wanted to point one comment, which is from Veronica, that says, I've been working on trying to build a local social collaborative community for artists and creatives. Let's not all do this hard work alone, y'all. And Veronica linked a Discord. So I'm just letting everyone know that that's in there if you want to join the Discord.
Great.
Thanks for that, Veronica. Okay, I'm going down, just comments agreeing with what y'all were saying. Just reiterate, someone said wondering if we get the slides. Yes. If Aimee sends them to me, and then yes, shall do that. Okay. Another comment from Devin says, keep a notebook of ideas, add to it all day long. Whenever a cool idea comes along, then you'll always have inspiration to source when you need it. Love that. Or a
Absolutely.
notes
Yeah,
app.
I actually used to keep I'm a post-it person, so I would have just like billions of post-it notes all over my desk, which became very chaotic. So I eventually moved over to like Google Documents. So I just have it always up on my computer. So anytime it strikes, I just type it in. I still do
Nice.
it on the post-its, but I'll always transcribe it into there so it's not lost. So that works for me.
Love it. Okay, question from Kiana. I have a question about marketing. I've used TikTok and Instagram, mostly Instagram, but with the TikTok unban and Zuckerberg making his morals known, it feels really weird to be putting the same amount of effort into those platforms. But I don't want to lose the momentum I've built up. I think this is a huge one for a lot of artists right now. I'm
Yeah.
going to start Pinterest and Blue Sky, but not sure how to think about social media marketing. I think, Kiana, this is so real for so many of us right now. And I think everyone's still kind of trying to figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. My opinion, just I don't know much about Blue Sky and haven't looked into it yet. But yeah, I think that Instagram is on its way out to being dead. I don't know anyone who spends time on it like consistently other than people who feel they have to for businesses. So I think Pinterest is definitely the best place to put your effort into because people actually visit Pinterest to like plan to buy things.
Those pins, yeah, live
And they
forever.
live forever, like they get more strong over time rather than just disappearing into the void after
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah, and if you're talking about like putting dollars, is that what you're talking about? Putting money into the ads?
I think it's just like putting
Mhm.
effort into
Time
using
Into
the
putting
like
your ad.
platforms.
creating
Yeah,
posts and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I still think personally that these platforms, not so much for like some hopeful, viral post or you gaining 10,000 followers, over the course of a few months. But again, like we said earlier, more along the lines of a portfolio in
yeah,
because it is definitely still Instagram, without a doubt, people go to all the time to look at what we're doing when they're actually purposefully going to seek us out.
totally,
And it is an important kind of representation of what we're doing. So
totally,
in that aspect, I think that for the time being, it's still strong. But yeah, as far as like the actively marketing through it, I'm with you. It's not the same. It's
yeah,
not the same. That's why we're really kind of pushing more the website.
Yeah.
In the SEO, we did quite a bit of
Yeah.
worked on the website and then did some research in the analytics and shows that through Google searches, we have thousands of people a month finding different pages on our site. And it's, I mean, orders of magnitude higher than views on any of the social platforms.
Yeah.
wow, awesome. Okay, there's a couple questions here. One of them Amanda asks, how do you decide when to change tactics such as price or site?
Price or what was the second
Or
word?
site, I think it's like website, like,
Oh,
so any tips on how
yeah.
did
I
you
think that
decide?
for price, I think you should aim to like raise your prices probably like once a year or as you sell things because people like art is seen as an investment too. And a lot of people who buy something from an artist want to know that it's going to be worth more like later, 10 years from now than it is when they bought it. So, but in order to make that true, you have to raise your prices and raise your perceived value.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, if you haven't sold anything at your current prices, then I would recommend probably not
That
doing that.
that would be what I would say.
Yeah. But
If you're selling your work, then I would think that would be about the time to start to look at raising prices. If you have a bunch of work and it's not selling, then you might be where you need to be and just keep making more work.
Got it.
As far as
Yeah,
the
that's
website, that's something that I think you should do as soon as possible, no matter like how little work you have, just because that's something that will take you a while to learn. And so over time, like it's just like making art, like you'll be able to make it better over time, the more time you spend in it. So yeah, I would spend time on like invest time into a website.
yeah, totally. I like how you said it's your online gallery. That's what I tell clients. Like people are going to want to find you somewhere. They're going to Google your name or whatever. So even if you're not super active or you can't be, have that
The other
online
thing too
representation.
about yeah, websites, like a lot of artists neglect their
That's
websites
what I
and a
was
lot
gonna
of
say.
gallery, like really big galleries. I spend time looking at a lot of like big gallery websites and they're terrible. Like, so if you can like get your website together, then you're already ahead of the game, like of many
Yeah, it's
galleries.
shocking how many really high-end artists that are producing like unbelievable work whose work will not even show up really in a search.
Totally. Yeah.
We
I
have
know what you're
some of
saying.
our little weird pieces that will show up at the top, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's at the
SEO
top?
works. Like if you do some research into SEO, like it's worth doing if you want to have like a easy to find like things.
Yeah.
Totally. And, you mentioned earlier Squarespace. I always recommend Squarespace too. And, even 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it was way harder than it is now. Like now, building websites, there's so many templates and that sort of thing. Of course, it costs money, so you have to work towards that. But it's just becoming more and more doable for folks to make their own website. And for artists, sometimes it's really straightforward. You just need your images and descriptions, a couple things versus, Anyway, I'm going to keep reading these questions. We have a couple more, and we're at about 7:23. Tiger, great question. How do you pace yourself so you don't get overwhelmed or burnt out? Not easy.
Yeah.
Uh, pacing. I think that just you have to have the understanding from the beginning that you can't do everything all at once
Right.
and have some grace for yourself, like inside of each day. Know that like the to-do list is endless. And
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable, like to know,
Yeah.
but that's just something you have to accept right off the bat. Like it is endless. You're never going to be able to do everything that you want to do in both the art making and the art marketing regard.
Well, and then like, I mean, just even the concept of burnout. Um, I what I personally have done is situated my mind in a way that I love my process. I'm
Yes.
not as attached to the outcome of anything. Sometimes I do something and I go, oh, that's pretty cool. And a lot of times I do something and I go, oh, that's not as cool. And either way, it doesn't matter. It goes off to the side and there's a new canvas on the easel and I'm ready to go. And I
Hmm.
do, it doesn't matter how I feel. I'm not trying to get to some finish line. So like my attitude is just that while I get to create art in this life, and what else am I going to do? What else am I going to do? You
Yeah.
know, this is how I enjoy spending my time, and that's not to say that I don't like feel like maybe that sentiment of like, oh God, this is hard, or I wish
Yeah.
that I was doing anything else. Like I have all of those feelings. I just recognize that that's an emotion that I'm having that's temporary, and that I am lucky that I get to spend my time right now thinking about this piece of art that I'm interested in working through.
Yeah. It's like keep your strong why, keep your strong mindset. And then also, like Aimee said, give yourself grace if
You
you
have
need the
Yeah.
to.
grace.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to.
I think
Yeah.
another thing that I think burnout is most likely to happen if you are asking your art to make money for you prematurely, because maybe your skills aren't quite where you want them to be, and you're creating like from this frantic state of like just trying, grasping, and that I think starting too soon is more likely to lead to burnout.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because a lot of us just are overwhelmed and burnt out. We're like, how do we get here? Why is this happening? You know, so I think that's an interesting thing to think about is like, how do you get there? All right, I'm gonna keep on going. I accidentally skipped Connor's question. Sorry, Connor. The question said, would you say immersing yourself in things, oh, sorry, got moved. Would you say immersing yourself in things within your artistic medium or observing your medium is as important as practicing your art? Is it one and the same? Do you want me to read that one again?
Have it. I see it.
Okay, perfect.
I hmm. I don't think it's the same, but I think it is equally as important.
I completely agree.
Nothing can replace like your actual art practice, but you have to immerse yourself in the work of other people and just the world around you in general to even like generate
That's how you sharpen your ideas
ideas. Yeah.
and how you figure out what it is you actually even have to say and why you want to say it and um, how you process this life that we're all kind of floating through. And I think that's a super important aspect. I spend a lot of time every single day uh, um, considering what other people have done and why I like it, why it moves me, and in how it's gonna inform and in fact, what I do with my own work.
And even more than like observing art within your medium, observing art in other mediums, I think is even maybe more interesting. Because when you can see an idea presented by someone in a certain medium and maybe it compels you to think about some concept, and then you apply that to your medium, that's then like a novel thing. That's then like you being inspired and then creating something new based on like someone else's creation.
Yeah.
Love. Okay. Um, I think there's only one more question. So if anyone has questions, throw them in now. And the question that I'm seeing here is, how do you deal with the chaos of ads that is Pinterest now? Chaos of ads on Pinterest. A couple people commented it seems to be a thing.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't spend that much time on Pinterest anymore, except to like find recipes. I mean, other than like posting our art.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, that's interesting. I actually just learned this about Pinterest yesterday, that you can link your Instagram account and it will automatically post your Instagram posts onto Pinterest.
Wow.
Right off the bat, I'm like, yay, that's removing work from my plate. But then also, what's that gonna do to Pinterest? Like once it's saturated with every person's Instagram posts that like may not be,
Mm,
it's gonna change the look of it, I think, initially.
yeah,
And make it maybe a little less curated. But I thought that was a cool, like I couldn't figure out how to hook up the Copper Wolf one yet. But anyways, just another time-saving thing, because all of these social media companies want your business and they ultimately want you to pay for ads on them. So, but they have a lot of like genuinely helpful business tools that don't involve you paying for ads, like stuff like linking accounts.
totally. Totally.
That's when I'm scrolling. Yeah, it makes me sad.
It's unfortunate.
Uh, okay, y'all. Does anyone have, I know it's at 7:30 and I'm gonna ask everyone to take a minute to fill out our as quick as possible survey, but does anyone have any other questions before we wrap up? And same to you, Danny and Aimee, is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you so much, Erica, for inviting us to do this. This is super awesome, and we want to thank everyone who zoomed in to do this with us as well. We have a show coming up in March. What's the date?
March 22nd. Yeah.
March 22nd. Emerge.
Cool. Feel free to
For
send the graphic to that, and I can share that with folks too. If you
sure.
have.
We hope everyone comes and checks it out. We're gonna do a raffle giveaway. We're gonna have some live jazz music. We'll have treats and a bunch of new artwork.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to say one last thing about like, there's some comments about how important sleep is in the chat. And I agree. Like
Supposedly it's true.
everyone needs different amounts of sleep. I do not get the same amount of sleep as Danny does. I get a full 8 hours, 8.5 really. Otherwise, I'm not very functional. So you need to know yourself and know
Exactly.
how to prioritize like
Yeah, what your needs are.
sacrifice. For me, it's not going to be sleep. It might be something else.
Right, and that's why I said at the very beginning, some of
Yeah.
the things I say aren't super popular. I don't set an alarm. I like naturally just wake up and my brain just behaves this way, and it has most of my life. So
Yeah, whenever I see you, you're like, I've been up since 4 a.m. working on stuff or whatever, So yeah, but
yeah,
it's true. I mean, all of those things did get you to where you are now. So it's the reality,
The whole path is very personal to every person.
Yeah.
It's not ever going to be the same.
Totally, totally. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you both so much for doing this, for coming here and chatting. This was super rich and juicy, and like I feel like I've gotten so much out of this. I wrote down a bunch of notes. Maybe I'll make sense of some of them in my follow-up email. But and thank you for the slides too, for sharing that with everyone. This will be a millionth time I've said this, but this will be recorded and I will post this. And what I'm going to do right now is just stop the recording, and then on everyone's screen, you'll see a quick quiz if you want to, if you can fill that out.